Ik ga het probeert, meine Kinder, sie waren...
In Halifax.
I was in Oshawa. My kids are 27 and 23 now, so I don't know how old your kids are. But...
No, they are. And really, no, they really aren't. This is like the minimum you can do to make it survivable.
Yes.
It's not a perk. It's just survival.
So the high school credit equivalent.
It's not at all. It's funny how the perspectives change.
Exactly. Yes. The biggest benefit.
Oh wow!
I was actually smile on my son's face
that's
when we
good.
show up at a hotel, and he gets a little gift bag.
Right.
It's like that's it.
No, we actually we did a Europe trip in May with the whole family. It was supposed to be in May 2020, but it got delayed a few years. But that's fine. So we went, and I used points to get the top suite at the Sofitel in Paris, overlooking the Eiffel Tower. And we had their biggest suite of the hotel for 4 nights, and I paid it entirely with 8,000 euros of points.
Exactly, right? Like
That's a lot of accumulation, but it was worthwhile.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's key, right?
I think they learned. So my one, she ended up becoming. She's now qualified to teach French. But she said the German did help her a lot to get that.
We book our own flights. We do. We book our own hotels.
Are they?
And so we can belong to whatever membership.
So they have French, German, and others. That's pretty good.
Fantastic.
I'm just gonna go say hi to my team. Is just it seems that they're all accumulating right there in the middle there.
Was that Sonia Alawalia?
Yes, it is.
I worked
not
with
easy.
back when I worked at
My
Congrès.
writing is not that good.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 2023 Annual Conference and Exhibition of the Transportation Association of Canada. We are so happy to have you all here. Bonjour à tous, je suis heureuse de vous recevoir ce matin et je vous souhaite la bienvenue. We are really happy to meet here in Ottawa this year, and as we welcome everyone, let us pause for a moment to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is built on unceded Algonquin and Anishinaabe territory. We offer our respect to the peoples of the Anishinaabe Nation, the traditional guardians of this area, whose culture and presence have nurtured and continue to nurture this land. We pay respect to all Indigenous peoples from all nations across Canada, and we acknowledge their traditions and experiences and honor their contributions, past, present, and future. This year, to show the commitment behind our words of acknowledgement, TAC will make a $1,000 donation to the Wabano Centre, an Ottawa health and cultural centre providing programs as well as advocacy and support services created by Indigenous people for Indigenous people. It is so good to see all of you and to be back together again for this important meeting of transportation professionals in Canada. And I also want to welcome people who are joining by live stream this morning. I'm glad you can listen in wherever you may be. It is very special for us to welcome delegates to Ottawa, the home base for the TAC office and staff. And while you're here, I hope you'll find some time to explore the city and enjoy it as much as we do. Right outside the doors of the Convention Centre, you can see Ottawa's iconic Rideau Canal, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is perhaps best known now for being the longest skating rink in the world when it's frozen, but its origins are in fact as a defense system and a transportation route. Just around the corner, you can visit the Parliament buildings. The centre block is currently under renovation, considered the largest, most complex project to rehabilitate a heritage building ever in Canada. For some of us, that will make it even more interesting than if it were open, but there is lots to see there. The public grounds are a National Historic Site, and there's lots of history represented in the statuary and at the Centennial Flame. Across Rideau Street, you can explore the Byward Market, snap your picture with the large Ottawa sign, and visit some of the local shops, restaurants, and bars. Whatever you do, do not believe the old reputation that Ottawa had for being a city where the sidewalks rolled up at 10 p.m. Feel free to stay out late and enjoy our local entertainment scene, but do be ready to come back for the technical sessions that will start every morning. We are very proud to work with our local hosts, Transport Canada and the Ontario Ministry of Transportation, to put on this event. We are grateful for their support to bring Canada's largest national transportation-themed conference to Ottawa. Nous sommes très heureux de travailler avec nos hôtes locaux, Transport Canada et le ministère des Transports de l'Ontario, pour organiser le plus grand congrès sur les transports au Canada. C'est vraiment un travail d'équipe. Nous ne pourrions pas le faire sans nos hôtes. A little later this morning, we'll be honored to have remarks from our hosts, including the Deputy Minister of MTO, Doug Jones, and Federal Deputy Minister of Transport, Arun Thangaraj, who will share some perspectives on our conference theme, Lessons in Leadership. We'll also celebrate a distinguished leader in the TAC community, acknowledge some of our members' outstanding projects, benefit from insights from leading organizations in our network, and have what I know will be a thought-provoking conversation with our keynote speaker, Jennifer Keesmaat. All of that will set us up for the conference in the days ahead. Our program of sessions and workshops, technical tours and events promise lots of opportunities for us to learn from each other, forge new partnerships, and foster innovation towards improving transportation in Canada. To start us off, it is my pleasure to introduce TAC President Sarah Thiele. Sarah is Deputy Minister with Manitoba Transportation and Infrastructure. She has built a career with the Manitoba government, supporting a whole-of-government approach to delivering services effectively and efficiently across systems. Since joining the TAC board in 2021, she has been a dedicated leader, supportive of the work TAC and its members do, and a strong advocate for the merits of collaboration through the association. A fun fact about our president, she holds a diploma from the Toronto Royal Conservatory in piano performance. So I'm a little sorry that we don't have a piano for her this morning, but nonetheless, veuillez souhaiter la bienvenue à Sarah Thiele, présidente de l'ATC. Please join me in welcoming TAC President Sarah Thiele.
Good morning. Welcome, everyone. I'm very excited to be here in Ottawa and back for my second TAC conference and exhibition. This is a premier event in transportation in Canada, and it's encouraging to see all of you here. Such a strong turnout is a testament to our industry's commitment to work together, to share ideas, build knowledge, and improve transportation systems in ways that will benefit our economy and our people. The next few days will be busy and productive, and I know we're all looking forward to connecting with each other and making progress on some key transportation issues. On behalf of TAC's Board of Directors, I want to thank you for being here, for being part of this important event, and for contributing to the transportation sector in Canada. It's a very exciting time to be in transportation, with so much growth and change happening at a rapid pace. This is what gave rise to the conference theme this year. Lessons in Leadership is all about the opportunity to learn from organizations and people who are breaking new ground as we seek and find bold transportation solutions. I know we'll get some interesting insights and have some meaningful discussions with our special guests, sponsors, and panelists on stage this morning. But before we get to that, let me share some news about what's been going on at TAC and where we're headed in the coming months. In the year since we were last together in person, thanks to the dedication of TAC members, volunteers, and staff, a lot has happened at the association. There have been hundreds of meetings held and projects advanced. Publications were released, awards were conferred, and webinars and training provided opportunities for professional development. If you haven't already, I'd encourage you to read our 2022-23 Year in Review, which presents highlights of these activities, and the images on the screens behind me also showcase some of our achievements. A fundamental reason TAC exists is to provide forums for transportation professionals to discuss the issues that are important to us. The conference is one of those forums, and in recent years, TAC has added dozens of online forums as well. Emerging issues are discussed at council and committee meetings. Roundtables keep participants up to date on the latest trends and developments, and webinars raise awareness of interesting transportation projects, practices, and business innovations. We've seen remarkable participation in these events, and we're breaking our own records with the number of people actively involved in our network. Now, with more than 900 people involved across more than 30 councils and committees addressing TAC's 6 focus areas, there's simply no better place to meet other people in the transportation field. I'd highly recommend becoming actively involved if you're not already. Your input to our work is important, and together TAC members and volunteers make valuable contributions to evolving the transportation sector in support of Canada's social and economic goals. A watershed event in the last year was the launch of TAC's online training center, which currently offers 5 courses on road safety. Developed in partnership with ITE Canada, those courses have attracted a lot of interest and garnered very positive feedback from learners. We are now working to build a portfolio of online training courses on a variety of topics. This will be a valuable service TAC can provide for organizations facing a growing need for skilled transportation practitioners and for individuals charting their own professional development. In fact, TAC's Board of Directors has invested some funds from TAC's reserves to develop more training courses, so stay tuned for new learning opportunities coming soon. I also want to highlight the projects underway through the association. This year, we started a major project to develop a new road safety guide for Canada. The consultant team has recently been confirmed, and it includes leading road safety experts across the country. We're confident the guide will become a foundational document for transportation in Canada. The year also saw progress made on other projects addressing subjects from mobility through structures to pavements and beyond. Indeed, dozens of projects are being pursued, important collaborative efforts that build knowledge and deliver some of the tools and resources we need to address various transportation challenges in Canada. TAC projects are some of the best demonstrations of the progress that can be made when we all work together. As I've already said, the transportation sector is growing and changing. Across the country, important investments are being made to support our systems, infrastructure, operations, and supply chains. Innovative practices and technology are emerging to address new and exciting challenges. The face of the sector is also changing, with new players joining traditional stakeholders. We're all benefiting as high-tech companies, software developers, telecom providers, professional service firms, and others bring their much-needed knowledge and expertise to help tackle modern transportation issues and projects. With so much happening in transportation, sharing information and collaborating is essential for us all to capitalize on opportunities to improve efficiency, resiliency, safety, sustainability, mobility, and equity. TAC provides a vital forum where we can connect, exchange ideas, and build knowledge. Once again, that's really why we're here for the 2023 TAC Conference and Exhibition. Thank you for being part of this special event as we strive towards our vision of transportation that makes Canada safe, healthy, and prosperous. At this time, I would like to invite my colleague, Doug Jones, Deputy Minister of the Ministry of Transportation, Ontario, to come up and say a few words. Welcome, Doug.
Thank you, Sarah. Good morning, everybody. Bonjour à tout le monde. C'est un plaisir d'être avec vous ici aujourd'hui. It's a real pleasure to see so many people joining the TAC conference this year. I understand it's another record, which is phenomenal. Last year, we could have said it's a bit of pent-up demand for conferences, but to see that continuing is amazing. I'd like to say on behalf of Ontario Minister of Transportation, Sarkaria, he wishes he could have been here today. Our legislature is resuming, so he's got a few files that are pretty hot that he's, or pretty important that he's going to be dealing with, and so he has to be there and expresses his regrets for not being here personally. I do want to just maybe emphasize what Sarah was saying about everything that Ottawa has to offer. I've got the pleasure of maintaining a residence here for a number of years, and I go back and forth between Toronto and Ottawa, living about a 10-minute walk from here, and I can tell you that the sidewalks do not roll up at 10 o'clock at night. I hear people walking along them on a regular basis and having lots of fun, so get out there and enjoy. I also want to thank the teams that have been putting this together. I'll thank them in advance because the local organizing committee, representatives from Transport Canada, Ministry of Transportation, TAC, City of Ottawa, they've done a lot of work over the last number of weeks and months putting this together, and I just want to express my appreciation while I've got that opportunity. So thank you to that team. I'm sure you've taken the opportunity to look at the agenda. There's a lot of very interesting topics and issues to be discussed. I know within the Ministry of Transportation, we've got lots going on all the time, and we tap into the resources and the research and the sharing of ideas that come through TAC and the ability to reach out to our other jurisdictions across the country, and everybody just openly sharing and providing advice and opinions and everything. It just makes our job so much easier because we're so much stronger doing things together. And I think this assembly here today is just a representation of how powerful we can be coming together and working on these critical issues going forward. I'm going to keep today's remarks short. Again, just want to welcome everybody. Welcome to Ottawa. Welcome to TAC. I hope you enjoyed things, and we'll see you around at the different events over the next 3 days. Thank you.
And now I'm proud to have the opportunity to introduce you to the Deputy Minister of Transport Canada, Arun Thangaraj, who was appointed to the position this past February. Prior to joining Transport Canada, Arun was the Associate Deputy Minister at Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, following 2 years as the ADM at Transport Canada. He has also served as Assistant Deputy Minister and Chief Financial Officer at Global Affairs Canada, and was the Deputy Chief Financial Officer at the former Canadian International Development Agency. Arun also brings experience and knowledge on transportation issues from his time at the Canadian Transportation Agency from 2002 to 2011. He received the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal in 2013 for his contribution to the federal public service and to his community, has served on various governance boards, and is a sessional lecturer in the School of Public Administration at Carleton University. Arun is a chartered professional accountant and holds a Master of Arts in Public Administration from Carleton University, a Master of Business Administration from the University of Ottawa, and an Honours BA in Political Science from the University of Toronto. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Deputy Minister Arun Thangaraj to the stage.
Yeah, that was way too long, and I'll have to edit that bio. Still better to be a concert pianist. I wish I would have known that many months ago, and our deputy ministers meeting would be a lot more fun. But thank you for that, Sarah. And on behalf of Transport Canada, I wanted to extend greetings on behalf of Minister Pablo Rodriguez, who could not be here today. Like Doug said, our minister is deep into House duty and sends his regrets. He did want me to make sure that we extended a warm welcome to you all today. It is a privilege for Transport Canada to sponsor this event. It's so great to see so many people here and so many people in Ottawa. And as Doug said, it's a great city, and I hope you take some time to enjoy all that it has to offer. I also wanted to thank Sarah for bringing us all here today and for the great work at putting this exceptional event together. We're very excited about what's happening this year in this year's programs. As Doug said, I took a look at the presentation, at the presenters, the sessions, and had a little bit of a time this morning to walk through the exhibitors' booths over there. And I think it's, first and foremost, I think what's really important about TAC is the incredible contribution it makes to the discipline of transportation, the papers, the presentations, the panel discussions leave an indelible mark on how people and goods move in Canada. It leaves an indelible mark on the policy-making process. We as a department at Transport Canada are the beneficiaries of the work that you do and the things that get discussed at this conference. So thank you very much. Again, I hope you enjoy the fun parts, the walking tour, the bike tour of the canal, the LRT project, I think it's working today, or to visit our test bed area XO, which again is one of Canada's leading test beds. The theme this year, as you see behind me, is lessons in leadership. And there's probably no other word in the English language where more has been written with such little consensus on what the word actually means. You can use the Google machine, you can use TED Talks, you can subscribe to all sorts of business publications, and no one has crystallized what leadership means. And let me disabuse you of the notion that I may do that, because I won't. But it is an important concept, right? As the theme suggests, transportation in Canada, and especially the work that you've done, has exhibited leadership. And that leadership isn't always just because we are the first to do something or we're the best at it. It is also because of the mindset and the approach that all of you bring to the discipline of transportation to solve some of the most intractable and difficult challenges that we are facing. Those challenges in Canada are incredibly complex. While there's transportation work that goes on across the globe, the environment of Canada is unique. We have 10 million square kilometers of land and water over vastly different geographies. We were talking earlier about the blasting that's going through to get the Trans-Canada Highway twinned on the border of Ontario and Manitoba. We have lakes, we have rivers, we have oceans, we have very cold areas of this country. And we have a uniquely designed transportation system that go over different geographies through different and fragile ecosystems, serving a unique market with a widely dispersed population. That does not exist everywhere in the world. And we do that exceptionally well. We move people and goods across the country and throughout the world in a way that no other country really does. But there are challenges that require our leadership, and I want to touch on a few of those, and they align very nicely with the strategic priorities and the vision that TAC has. And there are areas where Canada and the leadership and the things that you will discuss over the next few days will have a meaningful impact. And the first is with regard to a changing climate. We are now at the tail end of probably the worst, or actually what was actually the worst wildfire season in Canadian history. Over the last couple of years, we've seen the impact of atmospheric rivers. We've watched it's the 1-year anniversary of Hurricane Fiona. We are experiencing what a thawed permafrost does to our transportation system. Those geographies that I talked about earlier contain incredible biodiversity that is as valuable as the goods and services that we use and trade every day. We know that transportation accounts for 25% of Canada's greenhouse gas emissions. And while we have made strides towards decarbonization, largely in the area of light-duty vehicles, we need to continue to expand our efforts in this area and to push our thinking. Our efforts at decarbonization are starting to get into the really gnarly, hard-to-get-at areas. We will need to better understand how new technologies and propulsion systems that may range from electricity to hydrogen to things that we haven't even thought about help us move people and goods in a more sustainable way. That's hard for trains, it's hard for marine vessels, it's hard for ships and planes, and to do that effectively and safely. And how do you have infrastructure that supports that? How do you have a technological environment that supports it? And how do you have a regulatory framework that enables it? That requires leadership. We also need to find ways of moving things through delicate ecosystems. We know that ships create noise. We know that trains create vibration. We know that our ecosystem is fragile. How do we use the research that many of you are doing on materials and infrastructure and on planning to help achieve that? I think the research that many of you are doing on climate adaptation that you're presenting and discussing will be critical for Canada to build a sustainable and a resilient transportation system where we're not impacted and our supply chains and our movement of goods are not disrupted through flooding or fires or erosions. The second area where our thought leadership and where your leadership is really important is with respect to mobility. Mobility underpins transportation. Canada has a population that, paradoxically, is growing and aging. That growth is happening in concentrated areas, largely in urban centers. And the thinking about mobility, especially micromobility and active transportation, and all of the things that you're talking about in terms of roadway design and things like that, concern how we leverage the transportation system to connect people and make our cities and communities more livable and environmentally sustainable. Canada is at the forefront of putting accessibility and barrier reduction at the heart of those discussions. Those are also part of how we design our infrastructure. When I think about our high-frequency rail project that is connecting Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, and Quebec, accessibility and mobility and connection is at the core of that. That project is about reimagining. It's not about the technology between high-frequency rail and the type of infrastructure that will enable the fastest speeds and how you do grade separation really effectively. It really, at the core of it, is how you connect people and communities in ways that are sustainable along Canada's busiest rail corridor. I think the work that we will do there in collaboration with many of you, with expertise from the private sector, from the public sector, from the input of Indigenous groups will be incredibly important. We also know that mobility requires thought leadership in safety. We know that the more people using the same infrastructure creates challenges. And the research and design work that is done here becomes incredibly important. And the work that we do in related disciplines like behavioral sciences is key to make all of those users safe. Finally, we know that mobility will impact how we move goods, and that Canada has been a pioneer in those things. For example, in remotely piloted aircraft systems, where we were one of the very first countries to develop a regulatory framework to support this emerging industry. Over that time, we have seen the use cases of technology increase, and continued work in this area will make transportation more accessible, but will also be key to unlocking the challenge faced in moving goods to remote and rural and northern communities. The final area where I wanted to touch on where leadership is required is in the area of digital and data. Digital tools and technology has the potential to unlock things that we fully can't envisage, and possibilities and potential for our system to achieve things that we can't comprehend or we thought were unrealizable. We have only just begun to scratch the surface of how we can fully leverage the data holdings that many transportation users and providers in the private sector and governments have. We haven't fully understood how we can deploy IoT and other technologies to improve the outcomes of our system. I would encourage you, walk through the back and take a look at what some of our leading firms in Canada are doing. I would also encourage you to see Transport Canada's booth. It's the first one right next to the door, where you can see how we're leveraging robots and clean technology to improve mobility. If I reflect back on my years and my past few months, but also the 2 years I spent at Transport Canada before, Two of the most significant events that I've had to experience are the supply chain disruptions as a result of COVID, but also the environment and the restart of air transportation last summer. And we can think of those things as failures of infrastructure, failures of public policy, but at the core of them, right, it was infrastructure that didn't work. Not just because people couldn't get patio sets or golf clubs, or the fact that it was starting to impact Canada's competitiveness and created uncertainty and risks and inconvenience for the traveling public. What we learned through those is no matter how much you invest in infrastructure, no matter how well you think it is designed, it has a finite ability, one, to handle disruption, and a finite ability to generate marginal gains in efficiency. Right? There's an efficiency cap. I think what the key learning for us was the only way you get marginal productivity out of a fixed asset is by using digital technologies and data. We realize that the optimization problem of infrastructure requires us to leverage data and tools such as digital twins, such as employing artificial intelligence and simulations and machine learning to do so. It was very clear that infrastructure and assets, and our concept of assets, weren't solely in concrete, in steel, but also in boxes and wires and ones and zeros. There's a digital component of our transportation asset that we do need to pay increasing attention to. It's for this reason our legislative and regulatory work on supply chains and passenger travel and other areas have strong data sharing requirements built in. It is for that reason our supply chain office will have a digital pillar as its key focus. At Transport Canada, we are increasingly aware that we will not be able to achieve all of the outcomes that we want without digital tools. Sorry, I lost my place in this stupid iPad. And we need your help in doing that. We have a bounded set of skill sets in the department. We know that we need to better use artificial intelligence. We know we need to do better quantitative risk analysis to reshape safety. We know we need to do better modeling and predictions. That's not only important for our oversight work, but it'll also help us better understand where the sector is going. How do Transport Canada has a robotic vehicle, and if you haven't been to our test center or used our test center in Blainville, Quebec, here is my shameless plug for it. But do that. Because in order to enable some of the neat things, and I've seen panels today or over the next couple of days on connected and automated vehicles, we need to understand data. Because we need to leverage data in a very safe way. There are vulnerabilities and there are risks. Safety isn't just inherent, and it just doesn't come about design or use or wear and tear or maintenance. It's also in data. And we do have to build, just like at the concept stage, you build in structural integrity, we have to build cybersecurity in if we're fully to exploit the potential of data. These are all big challenges, and there are many more that I could go on about. But how do we do this? It'll involve all of you. It'll involve academia. It'll involve industry. It'll involve all levels of government working collaboratively together for the same purpose. One of the things that drives me crazy is new words. We had a student when I was at immigration. I was doing a speech and I was editing them, and I hate the word modernization. And she looked at me, she goes, "You're a word nerd." I said, "Wow, that's rather bold, but rather true." But I do hate new words, but one of the words that I actually like is the word ideate. It's a weird word. Mrs. Taylor would have failed me in grade 6 grammar for combining a noun and a verb and thinking it's a word. It technically is a verb. But it is a process of how do you conceive of something new, that creative process that involves starting in cognitive dissonance. It starts with an uncomfort with the status quo to conceive of something new. That is leadership, and that's what this conference is about. As we face all of these challenges, and as you participate in panels and discussions, your leadership is going to be expressed, not with boldness, not with decisiveness, not with that quick action that we often assume that is what leadership consists of. But leadership is about curiosity and inquisitiveness. Good solutions start with good questions. Ask yourself good questions. I know that that's what's going to happen over the next few days. Questioning, collaborating, and sharing. We are all indebted. I'm indebted to the work that you do. I'm indebted to Sarah and Sarah for the work that you do in enabling this to happen. Because without these four, we don't get to the outcomes. We don't face those challenges without things like this happening. So thank you very much for doing that. I very much look forward to hearing from all of you and engaging with you over the next couple days as you exercise your leadership and you come together to develop bold solutions that will result in a better Canada. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
It seems entirely appropriate that Deputy Minister Thangaraj would be leading the way with modern technology and have his notes on an iPad. Mine are still on paper. Deputy Minister Jones, Deputy Minister Thangaraj, we really appreciate your welcome and the support of your departments for our conference. Merci, Sous-Ministre Jones et Sous-Ministre Thangaraj. Nous apprécions votre accueil et le soutien de vos ministères lors de notre congrès. Vos réflexions sur les leçons de leadership nous donnent de bons exemples et nous inspireront au cours des prochains jours. Your reflections on lessons in leadership will inspire us over the next few days and when we all return to our day jobs to appreciate the vital role that transportation plays in our communities, our economies, and our ways of life. Leadership does take many forms, and TAC members are definitely leaders in the transportation sector, undertaking challenging and important projects, implementing innovations, sharing experiences, and offering real-life lessons that can be applied elsewhere by others. To acknowledge that work, every year, the Association invites nominations for outstanding projects. This year, we received 82 nominations in 9 categories, and our review committees had the very difficult job of selecting winning projects to receive a TAC Technical Achievement Award. We were really proud to confer awards across all of our focus areas and to have winners and finalists present their work in a series of webinars that were recorded and can now be watched from our website. So I would encourage you to go and have a look at those. The physical awards have already been delivered to recipients, but today we are delighted to shine a spotlight on TAC's Technical Achievement Award-winning projects with a short video. So let's roll that video now.
The Active Transportation Achievement Award. Le Prix de réalisation en transport actif. This year's recipient, the City of Ottawa, Ontario, in partnership with Robinson Consultants, Inc., has redefined urban mobility and connectivity in its Montreal Road Revitalization Project. The reconstruction of the 2-kilometer stretch of this main street in a historic neighborhood significantly improved the safety, functionality, and attractiveness of active travel. The Montreal Road Revitalization stands as a triumph of innovation, collaboration, and dedication to active transportation. The Climate Action Achievement Award. Le Prix de réalisation en action climatique. This year, we honor the British Columbia Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure in partnership with McElhaney Limited for its Culvert Vulnerability Asset Management System. The app uses information on infrastructure, physiography, climate change, hydrometrics, transportation patterns, and environmental values to determine a vulnerability rating for each culvert based on project flows, hydraulic capacity, and consequence factors. The Educational Achievement Award. Le Prix de réalisation en éducation. This year, we honor the City of Edmonton, Alberta, in collaboration with Empower Me and the Electric Vehicle Association of Alberta for the Electric and Hydrogen Vehicle Expo. This two-day extravaganza held in September 2022 didn't just teach but empowered through experience. The Environmental Achievement Award, le Prix de réalisation environnementale. This year, we honor Alberta Transportation and Economic Corridors and its Alberta Wildlife Watch project. The user-friendly mobile app ensures data on animal carcasses and live sightings is recorded swiftly and accurately. This comprehensive approach has identified 79 statistically significant collision-prone locations, resulting in improved safety for both motorists and our cherished wildlife. The Infrastructure Achievement Award, le Prix de réalisation en infrastructure. This year, we honor the City of Kingston, Ontario in collaboration with Hatch, Sistra IBT, and Peter Kiewit & Sons. This $180 million marvel stretches 1.2 kilometers across the Cataraqui River, uniting once isolated communities and enhancing transit options. The Mobility Achievement Award, le Prix en mobilité. This year, accolades go to the City of Calgary, Alberta, together with Ground Cubed and Urban Systems Limited, for their project, the Crescent Road Northwest Master Plan. This master plan evolved from a traditional transportation study into a multidisciplinary public space endeavor. Engineers, planners, landscape architects, and cultural specialists united to craft a holistic vision. The Road Safety Achievement Award, le Prix de réalisation en sécurité routière. This year, we honor the British Columbia Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure alongside the Insurance Corporation of British Columbia for their project High Friction Surface Treatment at Signalized Intersections, a project that paves the way to enhance road safety. The results? Skid resistance is improved at critical locations like horizontal curves, vertical grades, and signalized intersections, preventing or minimizing accidents. The Small Municipalities Achievement Award, le Prix de réalisation des petites municipalités. This year, we honor the City of Selkirk, Manitoba for the Evelyn Street Reconstruction Project. The city embraced the challenge of revitalization in 2022, fully reconstructing 7 blocks of Evelyn Street. It made progress on Selkirk's goals towards downtown renewal, climate adaptation, and active transportation while blending functionality and aesthetics. The Technology Achievement Award, le Prix de réalisation en technologie. This year, we recognize the British Columbia Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure, joined by PBX Engineering for the automated avalanche detection system on Highway 37A. Highway 37A in the treacherous Bear Pass zone cuts through unforgiving terrain. Enter the need for the Automated Avalanche Detection System, or AADS, the first system of its kind in North America.
Congratulations to each of the recipients for their exceptional work and their important contributions to advancing transportation excellence in Canada. They certainly deserve that round of applause. This morning, it is also an honor and a sincere pleasure to present TAC's 2023 Distinguished Service Award. This award is TAC's highest honor, and it recognizes leaders who have made a tangible and enduring impact on the Association's progress towards our vision and mission, and thereby on Canada's transportation sector. Recipients of this award have actively contributed to TAC's councils and committees for at least 15 years, and their industry experience spans an impressive 25 years or more. In 2023, TAC is proud to confer our Distinguished Service Award on Scott Stewart. An engineer educated at the University of Waterloo, Scott's career included time in both the public and private sectors. In 1978, he joined what was then IBI Group and quickly became a leader in the emerging field of intelligent transportation systems, or ITS. He was instrumental in expanding IBI Group's technology practice around the world. He became the firm's CEO in 2013 and built its business and reputation until he retired from Arcadis IBI Group earlier this year. He's now launched his own business as Scott Stewart and Associates. Despite his busy career, Scott has always generously given his time and expertise to many other causes as well. A longtime TAC member and volunteer, Scott has been a committed champion of the benefits of technology, and he was a driving force behind the creation of TAC's Technology Council in 2019, and he served as its founding chair. He has been a member of TAC's Board of Directors since 2009, serving terms as treasurer, and he is currently vice president members at large. In that leadership role, Scott provides advice and shares wisdom instrumental to TAC's growth and value proposition for members. Scott is a visionary and a natural leader, and his service to TAC and to the transportation sector in Canada has indeed been distinguished. His passion for leveraging technology to build a brighter future is unrivaled, and his volunteer leadership and commitment have helped ensure TAC's financial health and the ongoing relevance of our technical work. I feel fortunate to consider Scott a mentor and a friend, and I am delighted to present him with TAC's 2023 Distinguished Service Award. Scott, congratulations from all of us on this well-deserved recognition. How about you come on up and share a few of your wise words with our audience?
Wow. I may not retire. Sarah, thank you. In a recent TAC executive meeting, Sarah Teal had indicated how, and shared with us that the transportation challenges are so significant in Canada, but also it's so exciting because of the opportunities that were presented. And I thought it worthwhile just to touch on some of both the challenges as well as those opportunities. And clearly in Canada, we are a big country. And the challenges that we have in transportation are enormous, and they're so diverse, and they're so important. I just harken back to Confederation, and what was, excuse me, so important in the coming together of Canada was a railway system. Transportation still plays that very vital role, be it responding to the needs of the far north, permafrost and ice roads, or the needs of major, rapidly growing urban centers. We also have in Canada a major challenge in that our impact on the environment on a per-person basis is extremely high. We have one of the highest carbon rates on a per-person basis of anywhere in the world. That challenge is enormous, and we have to respond to it. We also have significant social responsibilities in the area of transportation, providing quick, easy, and safe transportation to our communities and our industry universally. And also, and maybe not finally, but certainly something that is very important that's been key to transportation in Canada is the value that is created by opening up trade corridors so that we can take resources and people and ideas to market in a very efficient and effective way. So the challenges are important. The responses are significant, and they're represented here today. And I cite a number of them. First, it is the construction industry in Canada. The construction industry is building some of the finest and most complex transportation infrastructure that you can see anywhere in the world. And we shall all be very proud of that. And we're seeing from that firms that are emerging not only to service the needs in Canada, but also internationally. We also have an incredible design sector. The professional services, the engineers, the architects, the planners. Not only, again, is this group servicing the needs in Canada, creating incredibly innovative and iconic designs, but also we have globally represented firms initially established in Canada. We also have a manufacturing and technology sector that is hitting way above its weight. And I look at organizations like GM that has its major infotainment center for all of its vehicles centered in Canada. I look at BlackBerry and the platform that BlackBerry provides for all of the connected vehicle opportunities that we see. Also, what is really important is the education institutions that we have. They have certainly supported all of you as you have looked at your careers and have developed, but also in areas of research, and also providing a platform for training not only Canadian young professionals, but also globally. And finally, and this is often overlooked, we have government organizations and institutions that we should all be very proud of. Because on a global basis, and certainly it has been my experience to be very proud of being able to say that I've worked for Transport Canada or for the Ontario government or whatever other organization in the country. And it's opened up doors around the world because we have such a high-quality professional group of people that are responsible for the delivery of transportation in the country. But what's also so significant is all of those sectors are represented here today under the umbrella of TAC, an organization that certainly, Sarah, I take great pride in. And in particular, the objectives of the organization to be able to deliver safe, efficient, environmentally responsive, socially responsible, but yet economically viable solutions to transportation in the country. So it is, Sarah, I must say, with extreme pleasure and humility that I accept this award. So thank you.
Thank you, Scott. We really appreciated your thoughtful remarks today and for your contributions to Canada, to transportation, and to TAC. Congratulations again on this recognition from our members. Now that we've been suitably inspired by the words of TAC's president, our hosts, some of our members' technical achievements, and distinguished service, it is time to turn to the thought-provoking part of our plenary session and our discussion of the conference theme, Lessons in Leadership. We've already heard from many of our guests this morning about the remarkable world of transportation, the growth and rapid change the sector is experiencing, and the exciting developments we're seeing across the country. As transportation professionals, I'm confident that we all feel a great sense of opportunity and responsibility to contribute through our work in transportation to improve our sector, our communities, and our shared economy. But perhaps we also feel a little bit daunted by the myriad issues before us. Climate change, safety and security, mobility, equity, technology, talent recruitment and retention are just a few of the profoundly important and transformative challenges that we're facing. They are complex and interrelated issues. Leadership and innovation are essential to break new ground and tackle these critical challenges. Without minimizing the extent of those challenges, I will say that I think that we are lucky to be able to count on organizations and individuals in the sector, among TAC members, and in our audience today, who are leading the way towards progress. The next few days will give us all a chance to hear about bold transportation solutions and lessons that we can learn from the work that is underway. To start the ball rolling, this morning we're joined by 5 industry leaders who will share their perspectives on key challenges the sector is facing and the ways in which their organizations are leading the way to solutions. I'd like to acknowledge that one aspect of their leadership has been their commitment as premier sponsors for TAC for 2023-24. Ils sont des collaborateurs essentiels, non seulement pour faire de ce congrès une réalité, mais aussi pour soutenir l'association tout au long de l'année dans la poursuite de sa mission de travailler ensemble pour favoriser l'échange d'idées, le développement de savoir, l'avancement des meilleures pratiques, la promotion de leadership et la mise en œuvre de solutions audacieuses. They are important partners, not only in making this conference a reality, but in supporting the association throughout the year as we pursue our mission to share information, build knowledge, promote best practices, foster leadership, and encourage bold transportation solutions. We really appreciate their support and are pleased to welcome their representatives on stage today. We've got just about 30 minutes with them this morning, and unfortunately we won't be able to take questions from you in the audience for this panel discussion. but I will boldly suggest that they and others from their organizations are attending the conference, and I think they'll be happy to have conversations with delegates later today or throughout the week. So now let's welcome to the stage. From our Arcadis IBI group, we have John Sibthorpe, Interim Business Area Director, Mobility. Magdi Saman, Vice President Transportation, joins us from EXP. Representing the Nuclear Waste Management Organization, we welcome Caitlin Burley, Director of Strategic Programs in Transportation and Social. From Parsons, we have Sylvain Momini, Canadian President of Infrastructure. And last but certainly not least, we welcome Ralph Ehlers, VP for Rail and Transit from Atkins Realis, which you maybe used to know as SNC-Lavalin. Panelists, please join me on stage. Thank you very much for joining us. And look, the AV team has been seamless. The lapel mics are now on. Thank you all very much for joining us. We really appreciate your support of the conference and for your leadership in the transportation sector. To start us off this morning, I would like to suggest that perhaps you could each take a couple of minutes to tell us what you feel is a leading challenge or an important challenge in the sector and how your organization is contributing to addressing it. Caitlin, you're right here on my left, so I'm going to start with you.
Great, thank you very much. So one of the leading challenges that we face right now is long-term transportation planning that is inclusive of public, in particular of Indigenous voices. And maybe what I'll do is talk a little bit about our organization because for more reasons than one, I might be the odd one out on the panel. So we are we're the Nuclear Waste Management Organization, and we're a non-for-profit that is responsible for implementing Canada's plan for the safe and long-term management of all of Canada's used nuclear fuel in a deep geological repository. Nuclear power is certainly going to be part of addressing Canada's climate change goals, and while there are no greenhouse gases emitted from this type of electricity production, there is a byproduct, used nuclear fuel, that needs to be managed for many thousands of years. We are actually leaders in the PAC internationally when it comes to developing an inclusive solution for managing used nuclear fuel, and this is going to be one of Canada's largest infrastructure projects in the history of Canada. We are about a year away from identifying a preferred site for the deep geological repository. Now, transportation, although we are not a transportation infrastructure organization, we will be responsible for safely transporting all of Canada's used nuclear fuel to the deep geological repository using its existing infrastructure once the repository is operational in about 20 years' time. So that's a long time frame. It's a lot of voices that need to be considered, that need to be engaged. And so one of the ways that we are taking a leadership role in this is by listening and focusing on humility. So you can't force a solution to this type of issue, and you certainly can't drive a narrative if you want to be truly inclusive. And so we are 10 years already into an engagement program that focuses on addressing people's questions and concerns through our research and through our early conceptual planning. From that, we've developed a transportation planning framework that really lays out an inclusive path forward that addresses people's questions and concerns, and we'll be implementing that framework in the same way it was developed, through listening, through adapting, and through learning from people's lived experience.
Thank you, Caitlin. John, how about you take a run at it next?
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. I suppose just a little bit of background on Arcadis IBI. So we are a global group of talented people who work with our clients, designing, providing designs, providing engineering, providing architecture, to owners of natural and built assets. In the transport sector in particular, we do a lot of work with our governments in planning for the future mobility of our communities. We also collaborate with contractors who actually end up going and building those that particular assets. So I think the challenge, particularly with this sector, and it's not just confined to Canada, it's a global issue. It is because transport has become, it's evolving, and I think a lot of the discussion previously has been how much integration that transport is now having and the effect on just our daily lives, our quality of life and living, and also our economies. The key challenge, I think, is also to bring about a diverse and inclusive industry. And this is hugely important because we need to provide holistic solutions to what is becoming a holistic involvement in our society. So the gender diversity, again, in particular, is extremely important. And that challenge, I suppose, is to provide women confidence that the STEM careers that they are choosing contain equity and they are rewarding. And so CADIS has always been at the forefront of that and very cognizant that we need to get that creativity, again, into the designs and the works and the collaboration that we do with our clients. So it's hugely important to actually create a culture that has that inclusivity. One of the things that we've really been proud of doing to sort of expand and actually deliver that is by creating a women in STEAM groups. And so what they do is they go off and they showcase and they show what kind of careers that are possible to the growing people in our schools. And fortunately, just last week, we actually had one team in Australia go and have the first discussion at a primary school. So that was pretty good. Thank you.
And just to keep everybody on their toes, Maggie, let's go to you next.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Transportation sector is in transition right now. And we have to react to that as consultant, as industry. There is emerging technology that is expanding rapidly, such as AI, digital sensors, 5G technology or connectivity. There is also environmental and societal goals that society or we want to achieve, such as sustainable design, climate change, improve the safety of the roadway users. All of these, they require rapid change in the way that we are finding new ways to solve our transportation needs right now. I think municipalities and cities and countries, they are trying to adjust, and there is a lot of questions for us right now. What we design for, which standards, should we design for the current standard? Should we design for the vision in the future, what's coming? But we don't know what's coming. So there is a lot of discussion and a lot of challenges, but it's also great opportunity for the industry to be ahead, and you don't need to take it step by step. They need to jump and catch up to the new technology. So as EXP is one of the leading transportation company in North America, and we have a comprehensive plan to attack that and to deal with it. And I will put it in a few points. The first, we established technology group within the company, and this technology group is not related to the structure group or the roadway group. It's just looking at technology in general, technology in terms of what is the up-to-date equipment, what is the best way to deal with softwares or new software or data collection or analyzing data or security of the data, and providing flexibility for our clients to use the data that they have, not only for this project, but for future projects. We have also sustainability group and this group, they are looking at all over the company for how to provide design that it is sustainable and improve the life of the community, improve the life of our clients and society. Young engineers, as we know, sometimes they don't take a leadership in a company until they reach 20 years experience or 30 years or whatever it is. We don't have this approach. We are pushing for having younger engineers to take leadership because this is their opportunity. They are going to be, I hope for a long time, facing these challenges and providing solutions. And this is also to address a challenge in the market of finding resources. All our leaders, they meet at least once a week to discuss different projects and challenges, opportunities. And this has nothing to do with only transportation, because everything now, it is connected, very well connected together. So it is how you deal with technology here, how you deal with in the mining industry, in the healthcare industry, in the building industry, so wide range of opportunity. So I think we are working also with our clients very closely, and our managers, they have a lot of flexibility to accommodate our clients' needs. So they are working with them, exchanging ideas and bringing also experience across North America. And we have a lot of experience across North America that we can bring it and share it and use it for future projects. So this is how we are trying to keep up with the challenge.
We've got two more. I can tell we're going to have lots of interesting things to talk about in just a couple of moments. Sylvain, how about you tell us what's top of mind for Parsons?
Absolutely. Thank you, first of all, and I want to say good morning to everybody. Bonjour à tous. So one of the challenges that we face as an industry, and I think this is not just limited to here, but it's really throughout North America, is resources. We're working in a time of just fantastic investment in infrastructure. And we are struggling a little bit trying to find and recruit and retain resources. But I'm really proud the way that Parsons is dealing. So we're really attacking this problem in two completely different ways. The first is really trying to make Parsons a premier employer. What we want is we want Parsons employees to be happy to the point where they would recommend working there to their friends and families, because let's face it, I mean, the best recruitment is from referrals. I mean, if we can make our internal people happy and they can bring in people, I think that's truly a key thing. And we're addressing that by really upping our benefits package, making sure that we make it a people-first culture where we are truly empowering and valuing our employees. And that's one aspect. The other way is we want to take advantage of Parsons' presence throughout North America, from coast to coast in Canada and throughout North America. So what we do is we really try to have absolutely no silos. And the way we do that is that there is no one in the company that has a regional bonus for a performance locally, which means that there is nobody trying to play, trying to retain their resources or their profits to try to attain a certain goal. The people that get bonuses all the bonuses are based on North America performance. So everything is based on trying to find a way to collaborate. And that way, we truly have an opportunity to work on projects across North America and to pool resources from North America, which means that you can benefit from the up and lows of local markets and still find a way to deliver the top big jobs. So I think this also gives also a recruitment aspect as well, because people get a chance to not only be working on the top jobs locally, but throughout North America and even worldwide.
Interesting. Thank you. Ralph?
Yeah, thanks. So I think from Atkins Real's perspective, keeping on the whole topic of resource obviously is a big concern for all of us. Where we are making changes and moving towards is recognizing the diversity of resources is also extremely important. And what I mean by that is not just the diversity we always talk about, but the diversity of perspective. And we are bringing in our international groups to Canada to be more involved with what's happening here, because everybody in this room must agree, we're all struggling with our resources in Canada. We don't have enough engineers and technicians and technical professionals within Canada to do the work we have in front of us. By bringing in the international resources to Canada, we're able to utilize their resources that we don't presently have here, as well as bring in a different perspective on how to get the engineering work done. We find that we'll come up with more robust designs and solutions this way, and we'll be able to provide those resources that are required now. I mean, in the next 20 years, Canada is potentially going to be a 50 million person country. We need to triple our production of power across the country, and by utilizing our existing base of resources in Canada is just not going to be enough. So we recognize that bringing all that together into Canada and utilizing the perspective from other people. I know when I was overseas earlier on in my career, one of the things I always learned, I spent about 5 years in the Middle East, what I brought back with me, and I use this constantly, is the perspective from others is always important. Understand how they would solve a problem will get you to a much better solution.
Thank you very much for that. I want to share with the audience that we didn't actually tell our panelists what issues that they should focus on. Those were truly their issues that they identified for this panel, and I was fascinated to hear the commonality among some of the concerns that you raised. Throughout all of them, there's a real strong human element in terms of how we incorporate more voices, how we expand our sector and strengthen our sector. So that was really interesting for me to hear all of that. I also thought there was some common content about how organizations can help build that and address that. And so I'd like to talk a little bit about organizational culture. And John, I'm going to start with you since you touched on that as well. What are the ingredients that help make an organization be a leading organization in the sector?
Thanks. I think there's a couple of things. A lot of it is just washed across people as they have their careers through that company. The biggest influences, I think, are from senior leadership who are able to mentor and present that culture of the company. And as people move through the organisation and they take up more senior positions and that leadership is identified within those individuals, then they tend to take up the culture as well. But I think the entity or the business itself has to be willing to empower those people to actually take it. And I think one of the biggest things that leaders can do is actually give permission to the budding leaders to lead.
Ralph?
Yeah, I would say, I think giving the opportunity to the next generation, shall we say, to reach out and move forward in their careers is extremely important. I think actually TAC is one of those organizations that can actually do a lot in that area. I joined TAC early on in my career, and it's been invaluable in networking opportunity, but also getting involved with an organization on a technical level. And it's one of the few, I've been involved with several others, this is one of the few around that I know of in North America where you can actually just stick your hand up and as a volunteer and you'll be accepted open arms. So I think those opportunities, and I'd like to tell everybody in the room who's a manager, senior manager at a company, get your more junior staff involved in the organization here. I think it's a great opportunity and it'll only benefit yourselves, your firms.
Again, I have to say.
Yeah, that wasn't a pitch you told me about.
I didn't warn them that that was going to be one of the questions I was going to ask. Magda, you talked about the way to encourage individual leadership. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I think the culture of the company is critical to retain staff, to attract talented staff, and also to push the company for a leadership in the market. Any organization is nothing without their staff. We are good organization because our staff, our talented staff, they are leading the company and they are providing solution for today's and tomorrow challenges. So I think leadership, and we heard some interpretation and different version of it, in my opinion, is the ability to have a positive change by creating and communicating a vision. Without a vision, nobody knows where the company is going. So we have to communicate a vision. We have to communicate it effectively. We have to inspire our staff. We have to embrace mistakes. We are not all perfect. We do mistakes, and companies always celebrate success, but we should also learn from our mistakes. And I think when we hear about these big companies, Apple and Tesla and all of this huge company, we never hear about which product they did and didn't work. We are in the same situation. Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't get it right. But to learn and embrace it and help the staff to find their strengths and help them also to strengthen their weakness, that is also very important. I think this is the culture of the company, that we are all have a voice and we are all leader in our small or our task, whatever the task is.
Anybody else want to chime in on that?
I would say that so much of our work focuses on inclusivity from a public perspective, but in order to really be able to do that work, we need to start with an inclusive workplace. And so one of the things that we've done is, we've focused on hiring practices recently. So in the past 3 years, just under 50% of our STEM hires have been women, 7% Indigenous, 31% visible minorities. But in addition to that, there's been a real focus on a one-team culture. And that means accepting people for their differences and actually celebrating people for their differences and the different perspectives that they bring to the table. And if we can do that, everyone can really pull together in the same direction. I like to think about the geese flying in a V formation analogy, and this may not be new for many leaders, but it's really something that resonated with me. And it's a nature-based solution. It's actually something that we can learn from nature. And that is that when geese fly in a V formation, they increase their flying range by 71%. Because they're helping each other. They're flying in one direction. When the leader gets tired, they fall to the back, and new leaders take on that role. And most importantly, when one goose gets ill or injured, 2 other geese fly down with that goose and stay with them until they've recovered and they can rejoin the next V formation. And I think that that's really important when it comes to thinking about how we can all support each other in a workplace.
Sylvain?
One of the things we've done to try and to tailor to the fact that everybody is unique and special is the fact that we now have a completely separate technical career path. So essentially, people don't have to become managers to climb up the scale, and because not everybody is made to be a manager or should be a manager. Some, are better served to continue being experts in their fields. So we have a completely independent now career track where you can be at the same levels as your colleagues on the management side, but stay as a technical expert. And this is not like a shooting ladder type of thing that go up and you'll go down. No, you can actually change your mind because, I mean, flexibility is key. So we want to make sure that people have the choice to continue on technical, and if they want to try out management, they can as well, but that's an option. And I think that's the type of stuff we have to show as an industry, is the flexibility to adapt to what is the most important, our people.
Which is an interesting way of considering inclusivity as well, right? That's valuing all of the different skills and talents that people bring to an organization or to a function, which is really interesting. We are perilously close to the end of our time, but I would like to give each of you a chance, if you've got a final thought, maybe a final lesson that you'd like our audience to take away in terms of how you grow and build and encourage leadership in individuals or within an organization. So Ralph is volunteering to go first.
Yeah. I'll just, I think listening to your staff is a small part of it. I think acting on what you hear is even more important. So don't just listen to your staff and give them the time. Obviously you have to do that, you should do that. But act upon what you hear and don't just dismiss it after the discussion.
Interesting, thank you. Magdi?
I think explaining what you are doing is very important to everyone, to the entire team. They have to understand what we are doing and why we are doing in each project, in each step along the way. And this helps you to achieve your goal because everyone will be focused on the same vision. Allow everyone to ask the questions and debate, because as everyone mentioned here, we are strong as one team, and it is this model of having direction from one person to the entire team. It is not working well in general, especially with this generation and a lot of change. So I think explaining is the way for innovation and for talent. And I think this is the best way to solve tomorrow's problem.
Sylvain.
Just to continue a bit what Ralph was saying, I think listening to staff is truly key, and not just listening, but acting. We do this company survey that twice a year, and I have to say initially people were not just another survey, and there was not a lot of people necessarily answering it. But once we started showing people how important it was for management and human resources to actually use what we found in these surveys to find actionable items for change, that was a game changer. I think now our staff respond to those surveys at over 90%, and that's pretty tremendous because, again, we tell them, this is, if you want to change the company into something that you'll be proud of, this is your chance. This is your chance to make a change, and we'll listen.
That's impressive. John?
So true, so true. You've got to be open to listen. You've got to lead by example, and I think you've got to do what you say.
Caitlin?
Yeah, so I think something that we're talking about is humility. And humility teaches us to be compassionate, patient, and to change when we need to. And so through that listening, I think that's a really, really good sign of humility. Humility is actually one of the 7 grandfather teachings that's been shared with us by a group of elders that we're very privileged to work with. And it's something that has really resonated with me in terms of how I approach not only leadership within the organization, but also how I work with communities. And I would say that there's a lot of work, a lot of opportunities, a lot of challenges in both the transportation and the nuclear sectors over the next few years, and our ability to listen and learn and adapt is going to be incredibly important.
I would like to thank all of you for spending some time with us this morning. I certainly feel as though I've learned some good lessons, and I'm sure our audience feels that they've got some ideas that they can take away as well. You've been really generous with your insights, your time, and your leadership, so thank you very much for being here. Delegates, please join me in thanking Caitlin, Magdi, John, Ralph, and Sylvain. Thanks very much, folks. That was great. So we are now ready for the final portion of our opening plenary session, our keynote presentation. But unfortunately, this is where we say goodbye to our live stream audience. We hope that you've been informed and inspired by our guests, and we thank you for joining us. So in just a moment, I will introduce our keynote speaker, and we know that this will be an engaging presentation and that you will have questions that you want to ask. So let me explain how to do that using our conference app. On the home screen of your app, you'll see a tile at the bottom right that's labeled Plenary Q&A. If you tap on that tile,